We turn now to that rare tsunami advisory for the entire North American West Coast from Alaska to California.
A tsunami warning is in place for the Philippines and Japan after a magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck in the Philippines.
Imagine the earth trembling, waters retreating, then returning with a force that reshapes landscapes and rewrites history. Tsunamis, these formidable giants of the ocean, have time and again demonstrated nature's overwhelming power. From the depths of the sea to the shores they ravage, these waves have left indelible marks on humanity. In this journey, we'll explore 10 of history's most monumental tsunamis, unveiling the raw power and profound impacts of nature's fury. Number 1. Tsunamis. To comprehend the might of tsunamis, one must first understand their genesis. A tsunami, often mistakenly called a tidal wave, is not influenced by tides, but is a series of waves caused by the displacement of a large volume of water. This displacement is typically the result of seismic activities, such as earthquakes beneath the ocean floor. When tectonic plates abruptly shift, they displace the water above, sending waves racing across the ocean at speeds comparable to a jet plane. Upon their inception, tsunamis are barely noticeable in the open ocean. Their height can be as little as 1 meter, often invisible to ships in deep waters. However, their energy and speed are formidable. Traveling at up to 700 kilometers per hour, these waves can cross entire ocean basins in less than a day. It is this speed and energy, combined with their long wavelength, that makes tsunamis drastically different from the more familiar wind-driven waves. As tsunamis approach shallower coastal waters, their behavior changes dramatically. The shallowing seafloor causes the waves to slow down, but as their speed decreases, their height increases. This process, known as wave shoaling, can cause tsunamis to rise to terrifying heights. Unlike normal waves, which break as they hit the shore, tsunamis can surge onto land like a rapidly rising tide, inundating vast areas and causing catastrophic destruction. One of the most haunting aspects of a tsunami is the natural warning signs that often precede it. A noticeable retreat of the sea from the coastline, sometimes exposing the ocean floor, is a telltale signal. This phenomenon occurs because the first part of a tsunami to reach the shore is often the trough, not the crest. Despite this warning, many are unaware of its significance, leading to catastrophic consequences. The aftermath of a tsunami is often characterized by a trail of destruction. Buildings are uprooted, communities wiped out, and landscapes permanently altered. The inundation of salt water contaminates freshwater sources and agricultural land, leading to long-term economic challenges. Moreover, tsunamis often leave behind them a humanitarian crisis with loss of lives, homes, and livelihoods, necessitating immediate and long-term relief and reconstruction efforts. In the wake of devastating tsunamis, scientists and researchers have intensified their efforts to understand and predict these natural phenomena. Tsunami warning systems, comprising a network of seismic activity monitors and ocean buoys, have been set up in many ocean basins. These systems provide critical early warnings, allowing for timely evacuations. Additionally, coastal infrastructure is being designed with tsunami risks in mind, incorporating higher ground refuges and stronger building codes. Number 2. Earliest documented tsunamis. The history of tsunamis is as old as the oceans themselves, but our records of these mighty waves begin with the dawn of human civilization. Spanning from ancient times to the pre-modern era, these records provide crucial insights into the earliest documented tsunamis, shedding light on their impacts and the human responses to these natural disasters. The earliest references to tsunamis are often found in ancient texts and mythologies, where they are depicted as the wrath of gods or extraordinary natural events. One of the oldest known records is from 479 BC in Greece, where the historian Herodotus described a great wave that thwarted the Persian fleet during the Greco-Persian Wars. Although not explicitly called a tsunami, the description aligns with the aftermath of such an event. In 426 BC, the historian Thucydides, in his account of the Peloponnesian War, provided a more scientific observation. He noted the correlation between underwater earthquakes and the massive waves, laying the groundwork for our modern understanding of tsunami genesis. The Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus provided an account of a tsunami in 365 AD that struck Alexandria, Egypt. This event, triggered by an earthquake near Crete, caused widespread destruction along the Mediterranean coast, signaling the far-reaching impact of these waves. This tsunami was notable for the level of detail in the historical records, illustrating the extensive damage to cities and the loss of life. Moving into the medieval period, the documentation of tsunamis becomes more frequent and detailed. In 869 AD, the Jogan tsunami struck the northeastern coast of Japan's Honshu Island, a region recurrently affected by tsunamis. Historical records, including the Nihon Sandai Jitsuroku, describe the inundation of the Sendai Plain, providing a valuable parallel to modern events in the same area, like the 2011 Tohoku tsunami. In 1303, a major earthquake in the eastern Mediterranean generated a tsunami that affected a wide swath of coastline, including Crete, Cyprus, and Alexandria. Chronicles of the time describe the sea receding and then returning with a destructive force, indicating a typical tsunami pattern. One of the most significant historical tsunamis occurred in Japan in 1498, known as the Meio Nankaido tsunami. Generated by a large earthquake along the Nankai Trough, it caused extensive damage to the coastal regions of the Kii Peninsula, Shikoku, and Kyushu. This event was meticulously recorded in Japanese historical documents, providing a clear picture of the devastating effects tsunamis can have on densely populated coastal areas. As we move into the early modern era, the documentation of tsunamis becomes even more detailed. The 1755 Lisbon earthquake, accompanied by a massive tsunami, is one of the most well-documented events of this period. The tsunami affected not only the coast of Portugal, but also reached as far as the Caribbean. Contemporary accounts describe the destruction in Lisbon and the subsequent changes in European building practices and urban planning. Number 3. The Kamchatka Tsunami of 1952. On November 4, 1952, the Kamchatka Peninsula in the Soviet Union was the epicenter of an extraordinary natural event. At 16:58 local time, a powerful earthquake, measuring 9.0 on the Richter scale, struck beneath the ocean floor. This colossal seismic activity, occurring in one of the most geologically volatile regions of the world, set the stage for a significant and far-reaching tsunami. The earthquake, originating in a subduction zone where the Pacific Plate dives beneath the Eurasian Plate, released an immense amount of energy, lifting the ocean floor and displacing billions of tons of water. This displacement resulted in the birth of a series of waves that would travel across the Pacific Ocean. The initial wave was followed by several aftershocks, further contributing to the tsunami's energy. The Kamchatka tsunami was a testament to the unfathomable speed and reach of these oceanic giants. Within minutes of the earthquake, the waves had inundated the nearby coasts of Kamchatka, causing significant damage. However, the tsunami's journey was far from over. Propelled by the vast energy of the seismic event, the waves traversed the Pacific Ocean at speeds exceeding 500 kilometers per hour. Hours later, the tsunami reached the distant shores of Hawaii, approximately 4,500 miles away from the epicenter. In Hawaii, the waves attained heights of up to 6 meters, causing considerable damage to coastal communities and infrastructure. The waves continued their journey, reaching as far as Alaska, Chile, and New Zealand. Remarkably, the tsunami was even observed on gauges in Antarctica, demonstrating its truly global impact. The 1952 Kamchatka event was one of the first tsunamis to be studied comprehensively using modern scientific techniques. The tsunami provided invaluable data for understanding the mechanics of wave propagation across ocean basins. It also underscored the need for an effective international tsunami warning system, especially for distant locations that could be impacted hours after the initial earthquake. Fortunately, due to the sparse population of the Kamchatka region and the tsunami's arrival at low tide in many distant locations, the loss of life was relatively minimal compared to other historic tsunamis. However, the environmental and economic impacts were significant. Coastal communities in Hawaii, for instance, faced considerable destruction, with boats, homes, and infrastructure washed away or damaged. Number 4. The earthquake and tsunami that shook the world. On November 1st, 1755, a day that began with the calm of All Saints' Day celebrations, the city of Lisbon, Portugal, was struck by one of the most catastrophic earthquakes in European history. The tremors, estimated to be around 8.5 to 9.0 on the Richter scale, were just the beginning. They set off a chain of events that would leave an indelible mark on Lisbon and the entire Atlantic region. At approximately 9:40 a.m., the first of 3 massive shocks struck the city. The earthquake was so powerful that it was felt across Europe and North Africa. Buildings that had stood for centuries crumbled, and within minutes a large part of Lisbon lay in ruins. The populace, already in churches, found their sanctuaries turning into death traps. But the earthquake was just the first act. Approximately 40 minutes after the initial shock, an immense tsunami engulfed the Lisbon harbor and downtown area. Witnesses reported seeing the sea first recede, revealing the ocean floor, and then return with a colossal wave. The tsunami waves, reaching up to 20 meters in height, struck not only Portugal, but also the coastlines of Spain, Morocco, and as far away as the Caribbean. Compounding the catastrophe, fires erupted throughout the city, possibly ignited by candles from the All Saints' Day services. These fires raged for 5 days, causing further devastation. The combination of earthquake, tsunami, and fire created a trifecta of disasters that brought Lisbon to its knees. The exact number of casualties remains unknown, but estimates suggest that tens of thousands perished. In Lisbon alone, up to a third of the population may have been lost. The city's landscape changed irreversibly, with major landmarks destroyed and countless homes reduced to rubble. The Lisbon earthquake and tsunami were pivotal in the study of seismology and natural disasters. The event prompted intense debate among Europe's philosophers and scientists, leading to the birth of modern seismology and the first attempts to systematically study and understand earthquakes and tsunamis. The Prime Minister of Portugal, Sebastião José de Carvalho e Melo, the Marquis of Pombal, took decisive action in the aftermath. His famous query, "What now?" led to swift and pragmatic measures for relief and reconstruction. Pombal's leadership during this period is often cited as a model for disaster response and urban planning. Number 5. The Great Chilean Tsunami of 1960. May 22, 1960, is etched in history as the day of the Great Chilean Earthquake, the most powerful earthquake ever recorded. Measuring a staggering 9.5 on the Richter scale, this seismic event off the coast of south-central Chile set off a series of catastrophic events, including the deadliest and one of the most far-reaching tsunamis in recorded history. The earthquake struck in the late afternoon, lasting approximately 10 minutes, an unusually long duration. Its epicenter was near Valdivia, Chile, but the impact was felt across an astonishing 1,000 kilometers. In Chile alone, the earthquake left a trail of devastation. Towns flattened, thousands dead or homeless, and a nation in shock. The seismic violence beneath the Pacific Ocean's floor didn't just rattle the earth. It violently displaced massive volumes of water, giving birth to a monstrous tsunami. Within minutes of the quake, waves up to 25 meters high slammed into the Chilean coast, obliterating everything in their path. What set the 1960 Chilean tsunami apart was its global impact. Propelled by the seismic force, the tsunami traveled across the Pacific Ocean at speeds of over 200 miles per hour. Within hours, it reached the Hawaiian Islands, over 10,000 kilometers away, causing significant destruction and loss of life. The waves continued their relentless journey, striking Japan, the Philippines, New Zealand, Australia, and even the distant shores of the United States. Survivors' accounts from Chile to Hawaii narrate the horror of the towering waves. In Hilo, Hawaii, the waves reached up to 10.7 meters, inundating the coastline and causing widespread destruction. Japan, nearly a day's journey for the waves, witnessed similar devastation, with waves reportedly reaching up to 10 meters, claiming hundreds of lives and destroying thousands of homes. Back in Chile, the aftermath of the earthquake and tsunami was a landscape of ruin. The tsunami compounded the destruction caused by the earthquake, leaving major cities like Valdivia in ruins and severing communication and transportation links. The double disaster significantly impacted Chile's economy and infrastructure, leading to years of rebuilding efforts. Number 6. Tragedy in the Indian Ocean. The 2004 tsunami. December 26, 2004, dawned unassumingly over the Indian Ocean, but beneath its tranquil surface, tectonic plates were shifting, culminating in an undersea megathrust earthquake off the western coast of northern Sumatra, Indonesia. Registering a staggering magnitude of 9.3, this was the third largest earthquake ever recorded on a seismograph. Unbeknownst to the millions living along the surrounding coasts, this seismic event was about to trigger one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. Moments after the earthquake, a series of massive waves began radiating across the Indian Ocean at jet-like speeds. The first to bear the brunt were the northern Sumatran coastlines and the Nicobar and Andaman Islands. The waves, reaching heights of over 30 meters in some areas, obliterated coastal communities, sweeping away everything in their path. Within hours, the tsunami reached the coasts of Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, and eventually as far as the eastern coasts of Africa. In Thailand, popular tourist resorts were swamped without warning, resulting in a horrendous loss of life, including many international visitors. Sri Lanka witnessed waves as high as 10 meters, engulfing entire towns and leaving a trail of destruction and despair. The scale of devastation was unprecedented. Entire communities were wiped off the map. In Indonesia, the province of Aceh was ground zero, with entire villages being swept away, leaving over 167,000 dead or missing. Thailand, India, and Sri Lanka collectively accounted for tens of thousands of deaths. The death toll across the 14 affected countries exceeded 230,000, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. Beyond the staggering loss of life, the tsunami left a humanitarian crisis in its wake. Millions were left homeless, entire economies were shattered, and the infrastructure was decimated. The images of destruction and the stories of loss and survival resonated around the world, prompting an outpouring of international aid and sympathy. One of the most tragic aspects of this disaster was the lack of an effective tsunami warning system in the Indian Ocean, which could have saved countless lives. Unlike the Pacific, the Indian Ocean region lacked the technology and communication networks to detect tsunamis and alert those in harm's way. The global response to the 2004 tsunami was unprecedented in scale. Countries, international organizations, and individuals worldwide contributed billions of dollars in aid. Rescue and medical teams were dispatched to the affected regions, and extensive reconstruction efforts were undertaken. Number 7. Japan's 2011 tsunami and Fukushima disaster. On March 11, 2011, at 2:46 p.m. local time, a magnitude 9.0 earthquake, known as the Great East Japan Earthquake, struck off the Pacific coast of Tohoku. It was the most powerful earthquake ever recorded in Japan, and the fourth most powerful in the world since modern record-keeping began in 1900. The earthquake caused significant ground shaking in northeastern Japan and the Tokyo metropolitan area. Minutes after the earthquake, an enormous tsunami was unleashed. Towering waves, some as high as 40 meters, crashed onto Japan's northeastern coast. The tsunami swept away cars, boats, buildings, and entire towns. The coastal city of Sendai was among the hardest hit, with its airport inundated and surrounding areas washed away by the wave. The tsunami left a path of unprecedented destruction in its wake. Entire communities were wiped off the map. Over 15,000 lives were lost, thousands were injured, and hundreds of thousands were displaced. The disaster damaged or destroyed over 1 million buildings, leading to a massive humanitarian crisis and a challenging long-term recovery process. One of the most alarming consequences of the tsunami was the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. The facility, located on the coast, was hit by the tsunami, which disabled the power supply and cooling of 3 Fukushima Daiichi reactors. This caused a nuclear accident, with meltdowns, hydrogen air explosions, and the release of radioactive material. In the hours and days following the tsunami, the situation at the Fukushima nuclear plant rapidly deteriorated. Despite frantic efforts to cool the reactors, hydrogen explosions occurred in 3 reactors, releasing radioactive materials into the atmosphere. This led to the evacuation of over 150,000 residents from the surrounding areas. The dual catastrophe of the earthquake and tsunami, compounded by the nuclear disaster, captured the world's attention. International aid flowed into Japan, and global experts in disaster response and nuclear safety rushed to assist. The event prompted a re-evaluation of nuclear safety and emergency preparedness worldwide. The environmental impact of the disaster was profound. The tsunami caused extensive damage to agricultural land and fisheries, while the nuclear accident contaminated a wide area, rendering it uninhabitable and unusable for farming. Economically, Japan faced billions of dollars in damages, with significant implications for the national and global economy. Number 8. Unusual tsunamis, ice, landslides, and volcanoes. While most tsunamis are triggered by seismic activities, such as earthquakes, there exists a category of tsunamis born from less conventional sources. These include massive landslides, volcanic eruptions, and even large-scale ice calvings. These events, though less frequent, can generate waves of devastating proportions, often catching communities off guard due to their unexpected nature. In the cold, remote regions of the Earth, where glaciers meet the sea, colossal chunks of ice calve off, plummeting into the ocean. This phenomenon can generate significant waves, known as ice tsunamis. One remarkable instance occurred in Greenland in 2017, when a 4-kilometer cubed iceberg broke away and fell into the sea, causing a massive wave that swept away parts of a remote village. These ice tsunamis pose a growing concern, especially in the context of climate change and the increasing rate of glacial melting. Landslide tsunamis, also known as megatsunamis, are typically localized but can be extraordinarily destructive. They occur when large volumes of material, such as rock or earth, suddenly fall into a body of water. One of the most catastrophic examples was the Lituya Bay megatsunami in Alaska in 1958. Triggered by a landslide caused by an earthquake, the wave reached a mind-boggling height of 524 meters, making it the tallest tsunami ever recorded. Volcanic eruptions can also be potent tsunami generators. The violent eruption of Krakatoa in 1883 is a prime example. The eruption, one of the most violent in recorded history, caused a series of massive tsunamis that affected the coasts of Java and Sumatra, killing tens of thousands of people. The waves were so powerful that they were recorded as far away as the English Channel. Unlike their seismic counterparts, these tsunamis often result from the rapid displacement of water due to a sudden and substantial input of material, be it ice, rock, or volcanic debris. This displacement leads to waves that can be extremely high, but usually localized near the source. However, their impact on nearby areas can be catastrophic due to both the force of the water and the debris they carry. Number 9. The future of tsunami research and preparedness. As we advance into the 21st century, the field of tsunami research and preparedness is poised at an exciting juncture. Building on the lessons of past tragedies, scientists and disaster management experts are pioneering new technologies and strategies to mitigate the impact of these formidable natural phenomena. The cornerstone of tsunami preparedness is the ability to detect seismic activity and rapidly assess the potential for tsunami generation. Advances in seafloor seismology, including the deployment of deep ocean pressure sensors and seismic monitors, are vastly improving our ability to detect tsunamis at their source. Satellite technology, too, plays a crucial role, enabling real-time monitoring of sea level changes across the globe. The accuracy of tsunami forecasting has seen significant improvements thanks to advancements in computational power and modeling techniques. High-resolution simulations, which incorporate complex variables such as seabed topography and wave interactions, are providing more accurate predictions of tsunami size, speed, and potential impact areas. Machine learning and AI are also emerging as powerful tools in analyzing seismic data and predicting tsunamis. Equally important to technological advancements is the effort to educate and prepare communities at risk. Initiatives to raise public awareness about the signs of an impending tsunami and proper evacuation procedures are crucial. This includes regular drills, easily understandable warning systems, and educational programs tailored to communities of various cultural and linguistic backgrounds. In tsunami-prone regions, there is a growing emphasis on designing infrastructure that can withstand tsunami impacts. This includes the construction of seawalls and flood barriers, the elevation of buildings in coastal areas, and the development of buildings that can serve as vertical evacuation centers. Urban planning is increasingly incorporating tsunami risk assessments to avoid development in high-risk zones. Tsunamis know no borders, making international cooperation essential in research, monitoring, and response. Regional tsunami warning systems like the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center serve as models for collaboration. These systems enable the swift sharing of data and warnings across nations, a critical factor in reducing the loss of life and property. As climate change alters our planet's landscapes and seascapes, its impact on tsunami risks is becoming a vital area of study. Rising sea levels may exacerbate the impact of tsunamis, while melting glaciers and thawing permafrost could trigger landslide-induced tsunamis. Understanding and modeling these potential changes are crucial for future preparedness strategies. Number 10. A wake-up call for global preparedness. On December 26, 2004, the world was reminded of the devastating power of nature in one of the most catastrophic events in modern history, the Sumatra tsunami. Triggered by a massive undersea earthquake off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, with a moment magnitude of 9.19.3, it was one of the deadliest natural disasters ever recorded. The earthquake, one of the strongest ever recorded, occurred along the subduction zone where the Indian plate was being subducted beneath the Burma plate. This seismic activity unleashed a series of powerful tsunami waves that radiated across the Indian Ocean at speeds of up to 700 kilometers per hour, reaching heights of up to 30 meters. The tsunami's impact was not confined to Sumatra or even Indonesia. The waves struck the coasts of 14 countries, including Thailand, India, Sri Lanka, and as far away as the eastern coasts of Africa. Coastal communities were caught off guard, with little to no warning of the approaching waves. The result was catastrophic, with over 230,000 people killed, millions displaced, and entire communities wiped off the map. In the immediate aftermath, the scale of the disaster became evident. Entire towns and cities were destroyed, leaving survivors without shelter, food, or clean water. The international community responded with one of the largest humanitarian relief efforts in history. However, the challenges were immense, with affected areas being remote and access severely hindered by the devastation. One of the stark lessons from the Sumatra tsunami was the critical importance of early warning systems in saving lives. At the time, the Indian Ocean region lacked a comprehensive tsunami warning system, which contributed to the high death toll. In response, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System was established, aiming to provide timely warnings to reduce the impact of such events in the future. The environmental impact of the tsunami was profound. Coastal ecosystems, such as coral reefs and mangroves, were severely damaged. This had a knock-on effect on local fisheries and biodiversity. The tsunami also changed the landscape, with new landforms created and old ones altered or destroyed.